ECOWAS and African Union, even though they seem to be on the same wicket, actually they are not. Under the tradition of the African unity, something they copied from the OAU, ECOWAS is supposed to take the lead in the response to what I need this thing in my ear, please. ECOWAS is supposed to take the lead in confronting the issue in, I'm sorry. Right. Okay, I'm sorry. ECOWAS is supposed to take the lead, and then the African Union will follow up. Instead, the African Union took the lead in responding to the issue in Niger. Why? This was something masterminded by South Africa to thumb President Tinubu in the face. It was an anti-Tinubu action by the African Union. Why do I say that the South African is behind this? There's a video that is going around which showed an analysis on South African television station, which blames Tinubu for the coup in Niger, that it is because President Tinubu is illegitimate, because his election is contentious, etc., that the coup had happened. Now, this is coming from a nation where their president has an anti-corruption charge still hanging around his neck, which the majority view, the majority party, the ANC, in parliament, he had used to overturn the decision of a judicial panel which had found him guilty of corruption. This is coming from the same South Africa that is now blaming President Tinubu. So the AU stepped quickly into the breach in order simply to thumb President Tinubu in the face. Now, ECOWAS has now put itself, if you want to put it that way, by now imposing a 7-day limit for a reaction, while African Union gave them 15 days, creating a hiatus that, if you like, the Niger regime can exploit by saying we will listen to the African Union rather than the ECOWAS. We should keep that in mind because, in fact, the problem for ECOWAS is not being posed by the Western countries, it's being posed by the African Union, being instigated by South Africa. Now,
when someone asks us, well, what is the role of Africa Command? I say it's bringing whole of government and bringing regional solutions to our African partners when asked.
And then at the same time, the neighboring country of Niger, Mali, we've just seen now that the US there also have placed sanctions on some of the military officials. What does this all mean then for the ECOWAS region?
It's quite unstable right now. And unfortunately, you have the chair currently, it's Nigeria, and the president of Nigeria. You know, he's also facing a lot of pressure in his country in terms of how the election panned out, in terms of the results. Some questioning the credibility of the elections. He issued a strong statement yesterday, but already when you read the reaction to that statement, people were already saying, you yourself, you are not legitimate. And therefore, this time around, ECOWAS is not as strong as the ECOWAS that we are used to. You'd recall when there were challenges in the region previously, they were quick to react and to respond, and there was that credibility because those who were speaking at that time, who were leading the regional body, had credibility. But right now, it's on a very shaky ground.
Welcome to my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election in Nigeria that was held on February 25, 2023, and the result announced on March 1st, 2023. And Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu was, in controversial circumstances, declared the winner of the election, which is now being challenged at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. And as I keep saying, it will eventually end up at the table of the justices of the Supreme Court, who will finally determine who actually won the 2023 presidential election in Nigeria. But as things stand now, Aswad Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria based on that election. That is the situation until the Supreme Court says otherwise. Now, as I keep saying, the outcome of the 2023 presidential election that was held in February is still reverberating all over the world, including Africa in particular. You have heard and you are aware that right now there is a tsunami of coup d'etat sweeping West Africa sub-region. And this is troubling to a lot of Democrats, and it should be too. And the latest of it is that just yesterday, August 1st, the Sierra Leonean government released a statement saying that they had foiled a coup, another coup that could have taken place in that country by military officers. So nobody knows where this will end, but we lovers of democracy, we still insist that democracy is what will take Africa to the promised land and nothing else. Because all other systems, we have tried military regime in Nigeria, and military regime in Nigeria is part of the reason why we are where we are today. So we condemn totally any idea of illegitimate takeover of democratically elected government. That is by the way. But in this particular video, we are looking at why South Africa is blaming Tinubu for the coup in Niger Republic. Niger is the latest West African country to experience successful military takeover recently. So why would South Africa blame Tinubu for the coup in Niger Republic? And this observation, as you have seen from the video I played for you, is this allegation is being made by none other than a former Director General of Nigeria Institute of International Affairs and former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Akinyemi, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. He said that there is a proxy war, and that proxy war is being led by South Africa, and it all boils down to Tinubu. Tinubu is the reason why South Africa is doing what it's doing, and the thing is having a lot of impact in the resolution of the current impasse in Niger Republic on whether the military government should be given 1 week to vacate or 15 days to vacate. We are going to re-examine the things that Professor Bolaji Akinyemi said in his own words. Then we now situate it perhaps with a proverb by the renowned author Chinua Achebe, that it is the person that fetch ant-infested firewood that want lizards to visit him. The person who fetch ant-infested firewood that calls for lizard to visit him. That's my own paraphrase of his famous proverb from one of his books. I think Things Fall Apart or another one. But I know that this is attributable to him because this wise saying is from him. So Chinua Achebe said it aptly, and that is proverb, and is playing out. And Nigeria is reaping the outcome, the way we manage the 2023 presidential election. And we think that the world is not aware, or Africa is not aware of what we do here in Nigeria in the respect of our own democracy. The world indeed is watching. So Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, the former Foreign Affairs Minister, he has blamed South Africa. Yeah. He condemns South Africa, obviously, from what we've seen, for attributing the coup in Niger Republic to the illegitimacy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government. That is not my word. Those were the words of Professor Bolaji Akinyemi. He said he has blamed South Africa for attributing the coup in Nigeria to the illegitimacy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Akinyemi, in this interview that you just watched on Arise Television, said that ECOWAS, which Tinubu chairs, is supposed to be the first to react to the coup in Niger, rather than African Union, AU, which was the first to react in a bid to spite Tinubu on the face, alleging that this move was instigated by South Africa. The former minister said, and you heard him clearly, he said African Union and the ECOWAS seem to be on the same page. Actually, they are not. They are not. Under the tradition of the African Union, ECOWAS was supposed, according to him, ECOWAS was supposed to take the lead in confronting the issue in Niger, and then the African Union will follow up. Instead, the African Union took the lead in responding to the issue in Niger Republic. He asked, why was it so? He said this was something masterminded. He alleged that this was something masterminded by South Africa to spite President Tinubu in the face. It was an anti-Tinubu action by the African Union, he claimed. Why do I say that South Africa is behind it, he asked. And he delivered the answer by himself. He said there is a video that is going around which shows an analysis by a South African television station which blamed Tinubu for the coup in Niger. Of course, I shared that video with you. You saw the video that was making the rounds. He said, continuing, Bolaji Akinyemi said that it is because President Tinubu is illegitimate. That's what the television station, South African television station is saying. He said that it is because President Tinubu is illegitimate, because his election is contentious, that the coup had happened. In other words, what he was saying was that if Tinubu's government is legitimate, if Tinubu is a product of the will of Nigerian people, if Tinubu had legitimacy, these are not my words, these are the words of Bolaji Akinyemi in interpretation of the behavior of South Africa towards the Niger Republic coup. He was saying that if Tinubu's government was legitimate and was a product of the will of Nigerian people, that South Africa believed that the coup would not have happened. It is because Nigeria has lost the moral compass to question the legitimacy of any other government in the sub-region that gave the military the temerity in Niger Republic to take over government. Because Nigeria does not have the voice to confront, because Nigeria does not have the moral authority to talk about democracy when its own democracy is questionable, doubtful, and is contentious, and is still being contentious and contended with right now in the courts. So that legitimacy robbed Nigeria of the opportunity, of the privilege, of the legitimacy to talk about democracy elsewhere, including Niger Republic. That was the position of South Africa. And that was why South Africa is blaming Tinubu for the coup. That if he had been a legitimate government that is in Nigeria, that is his Akinyemi's interpretation, that the coup in Niger would not have happened, and that the response would have been different from what is happening right now. Now let us finish Akinyemi's postulations. Akinyemi continued in the trajectory he was following. He said that the AU, African Union, got quickly to the bridge in order to spite President Tinubu in the face. He said that ECOWAS is now imposing a 7-day limit for a reaction, while the African Union gave 15 days, creating a situation, if they like, the Niger regime can exploit by saying it will listen to AU, African Union, rather than ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. Continuing, he said the problem in ECOWAS is not being posed by the Western countries. It is being posed by the African Union, instigated by South Africa. Now we have decisions taken by ECOWAS yesterday, while AU has already taken a decision of 15 days to have a reaction. So what the professor was saying, in essence, is that the legitimacy of Tinubu administration has been called to question by South Africa. And that South Africa believed that Tinubu had been the chair of ECOWAS and the circumstances of his emergence as president of Nigeria, he lacked the moral authority for intervention in a military takeover in Niger Republic. Therefore, instead of African Union waiting for ECOWAS, as would have been the tradition, to take the lead in condemnation and in moving against the junta in Niger Republic, African Union took over the lead, allegedly instigated by South Africa. Because South Africa does not consider Nigeria to have the moral authority because of the circumstances of the emergence of its president to talk about democracy in Niger Republic. And South Africa is invariably saying that charity begins at home, that Nigeria should first of all put its own democracy at home in order before it could be able to talk about democracy around its neighbors. This is huge. This is weighty. So that was why South Africa instigated AU to disregard the usual courtesy of allowing the sub-regional body like ECOWAS to take the lead in condemnation and in taking action against the coup plotters of Niger Republic. That is a solid message to Nigeria, because we in Nigeria here, we look at the success of our democracy in numbers. We have been a democratic nation uninterrupted since 1999. But the world is saying our democracy is not as legitimate as it should be. And if you listen to the South African television station that Bolaji Akinyemi was talking about, they were talking about that the way even the Niger junta, military junta, received the message from Nigeria, they receive it with disdain, because they said that the Nigerian military people and others felt that Nigeria lacks the moral authority to talk about democracy, to talk about imposing it on their country. It is a very clear message to both Nigeria and other African countries where you have civilian dictatorship, civilians who, because they are the incumbent administration or incumbent party in power, does everything, manipulate the system and retain power. Or in some countries, after serving 2 terms, the president would alter the constitution to do a 3rd term. It's happening all around West African sub-region and sub-Saharan Africa. This has put democracies in the continent in danger. The brazen subversion of the will of the people and the contentious election that was held in Nigeria has made Nigeria to lose its moral compass, even in the sub-region. So if West Africa can look at Nigeria this way, if West Africa, ordinary countries like Niger, Chad, and all the rest, Mali, they look at Nigeria with disdain because of the way democracy of Nigeria had become something that people disdain, people regard as virtually no democracy. It shows you that we need to do better in our recruitment process, in our democratic process, so that we can regain the confidence of the world. If these small countries, if this sub-region that Nigeria contributes perhaps 70% of its finances have no regard for Nigeria because Nigeria had lacked moral authority because of its questionable democracy in terms of the emergence of its presidency, then what do you think the international community in Europe, America, and the rest, how they view Nigeria right now? If South Africa, who's supposed to be an ally of Nigeria, could look at Nigeria with the prism that the administration in Nigeria lacks moral authority to talk about democracy in another country, that is a big message to Nigeria, that we can pretend all we like, that we are the biggest economy in Africa, we are the biggest democracy in Africa. That is not what the world are seeing when they look in from outside. They look at democracy on shaky on shaky legs in Nigeria. Democracy with the leg of clay. That's what they see in Nigeria. And that's why they feel that Nigeria lacks moral authority to talk about democracy outside its own territory. And South Africa is leading that charge to remind Nigeria about this. Professor Akinyemi felt offended by this. You can see his reaction. He said that South Africa has no moral authority to do what it is doing because the president of South Africa, according to him, has corruption charges against him, that he had been indicted for corruption. But it is laughable for a Nigerian to talk about corruption in South Africa or in any other country for that matter, when Nigeria itself is a cesspool of corruption. I think the world would even be laughing at Professor Akinyemi to talk about corruption in South Africa, when Nigeria is the most corrupt country in the continent, the most corrupt, one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Who are the reason that Nigeria is so corrupt is our leaders. In Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, he should go and check it in the last 8 years, the position of Nigeria and the position of South Africa. He will know that he himself, even though he is a professor of international affairs and all the rest, he ought not to have even brought the issue of corruption at all when talking about Nigerian leaders and the action that South Africa allegedly took. Because Nigeria is a epitome of corruption. So anybody that is Nigerian want to quarrel with and begin to talk about the corruption of that country's president, I think Nigeria will be making a fool of himself to talk about corruption. Because we know how corrupt this country is and how corruption is being suppressed. The real corrupt people are walking around free. They have failed. Okay, look at it this way now. All over the world, there is fuel subsidy. From United States to UK, from UK to Germany, from Germany to India, India to China. You can go and Google it. There is nowhere in the world that there is no fuel subsidy. It can be called any other name. In the US, they call it gas subsidy. It's all over the world. Why is the one in Nigeria not working? Why was it cancelled? Because they say it has been taken over by corruption, by corrupt people. Ordinary people are not getting anything. It's only the corrupt elite who are benefiting from it. But they removed the subsidy. Who are the people trekking from Yaba to VR, or trekking from various parts of Lagos after work? Is it the poor, the rich? What have Nigeria done to rein in the so-called subsidy thieves. They didn't call them to, they didn't collect the money. In fact, there was even a former governor of Bauchi State who appeared on national television to say that one of the beneficiaries said that he's so tired of making money that they should please stop subsidy because he's tired of making money. Like presidential candidate of Labour Party said recently. He said this is the first time he's hearing that somebody is tired of making money. But the government of the day, did they do anything to rein in these people who have exploited Nigerians, taking away trillions of naira yearly? So how a country like that, like Nigeria, has a moral authority to talk about that South African president was indicted for corruption? So it lacked the morality to question the election in Nigeria. It would have made more sense if Professor Bolaji Akinyemi had accused the president of South Africa of emerging illegitimately, so that it could now be that the comparison is based on equivalence. You are now comparing the same thing. It would have made more sense for Professor Bolaji Akinyemi to have said, okay, even you, the South African president, you were not elected illegitimately. There was rigging, there was manipulation, there were killings in your emergence. And your election is contentious. It's in court also in South Africa. Why should you come and talk about the president of Nigeria, whose election is also contentious and is in court? Then it would have made sense. But for him to now begin to talk about corruption allegation against South African president, so which disqualifies him sort of to talk about the political corruption and the alleged illegitimacy of Tinubu's emergence as president of Nigeria, which has stripped him of the moral right to talk about democracy in another country, including Niger Republic. So the message is that we have to keep our house in order. And people like Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, who Providence had put them in a position that they have become moral authority, academic authority, expert authority. They should speak truth to power. The last time I checked, I have never seen Professor Bolaji Akinyemi where he talked about the outcome of the 2023 presidential election, which the European Union and other international observers have written reports to show that it lacked all the transparency, that should be associated with electing a leader for a country. The election lacked it. All the reports, go and look at all the reports, but I didn't see anywhere. I'm yet to see where Akinyemi said that he is opposed or he is angry about the way INEC conducted that election. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you will be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, God will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you. God bless you and yours.